One paragraph usually contains between 4 and 8 sentences. Generally speaking, it is best to have between 5 and 7 sentences. Each of these sentences should contribute to the overall development of the point the paragraph is making. The structure of the paragraph should also be considered. A complete paragraph should have an introduction, body, and conclusion. The introduction should state the main point of the paragraph, and the body should expand on and prove the point made in the introduction. This should be done through the use of facts, examples, and logic. Supporting evidence should be provided to make the point more convincing. The conclusion of the paragraph should reinforce the point made and summary the content of the paragraph. The conclusion should be logical, and if applicable, lead into the next paragraph. While the exact length of a paragraph may vary, 40 words is a good guideline for the minimum number of words that should be included in each paragraph. If the overall point can be clearly and effectively expressed in fewer words, then the paragraph should be shortened accordingly. That said, having more than 40 words in a paragraph can also be beneficial if it allows for more detailed explanation and presents a clearer argument. It is ultimately essential to the effectiveness of a paragraph that each sentence builds and refines the point. Although it is important to consider how many sentences and words are in each paragraph, every piece of writing should be judged in context. A section of text written for an academic paper will usually require a different approach from that of a newspaper article. The writing style used will also affect the length of individual paragraphs. For instance, creative writing is usually more expressive and may require more elaborate phrasing than a more formal writing style. As with any type of writing, practice is key. With practice and experimentation, writers should be able to develop their own style and formulate their own rules about how many sentences and words they need in each paragraph to communicate their points effectively. Generally, though, 40 words is a good rule of thumb for the minimum size of a paragraph. This should provide enough space to effectively introduce and prove the point being made, without straying off topic or excessively. For more specific guidelines, writers should check with their publication or professor. Each style guide or teacher may have different expectations or recommendations for the structure and length of paragraphs. It may also be useful to remember the goal of the paragraph, to explain in detail and lead the reader through the point of your argument. Paragraphs should be tailored to this purpose and the other composition rules. When deciding how many sentences to include in a paragraph, writers should always use their best judgment. 40 words is a good starting point, but it will depend on the individual writing and the context it's going into. Good writing is not just about structure and rules, but also about getting your ideas across to your readers. Writers should create the best piece of prose they can by considering all the elements together. Every paragraph should make a point, provide evidence, and reach a conclusion. This process can be repeated as many times as needed to make a point more clearly or develop an argument in further depth. Depending on the number of points being made, the length of a paragraph can vary. 30 to 40 words is a good baseline for each paragraph, but specific situations may require more or fewer words to make a point effectively. Writing is an art form, and with practice, writers can learn to craft their paragraphs in the best ways for their style of writing and the context they are working in. When writing, it is important to consider how many sentences and words are in each paragraph, as well as how the structure of the paragraph contributes to the overall piece. Paragraphs should not be overly lengthy. 40 words or more should be the maximum size of a paragraph. This will ensure that the point is made clearly and effectively without overcomplicating the text. When it comes to determining how many sentences should be in a paragraph, there is no exact rule. As each piece of writing is different and each style of writer may approach things in different ways, ultimately, it is up to the individual writer to decide on how many sentences and words are necessary for each paragraph. What is essential, though, is that the writing is effective and engaging for the reader. Various factors, such as the type of writing and the context, will influence the length of paragraphs. Writers should remember to be consistent with their style and consider all the elements when composing their text. Whilst there is no specific rule, 40 words is a good guideline for the minimum size of each paragraph. A paragraph should not be too long or too short but be tailored to the point that the writer wants to make. Depending on the writing style used, more words may be necessary to convey the point or add an interesting element to the text. However, writers should make sure not to go overboard. Finding the perfect balance between structure and expression is the key to good writing. Paragraphs should contain enough sentences and words to make the point without compromising on grammar and spelling.